Hey everyone, hope you're doing great. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we'll dive into what if Naruto was chosen by the Avengers but feared by the world. Smash that subscribe button, and be sure to peek at the description below. Let's begin. The sky over New York City had finally learned to be blue again. For months following the Chitauri invasion, the residents of Manhattan had looked up with a collective, silent flinch, half expecting the fabric of reality to tear open once more and rain down metallic leviathans. But time, as it always does, had begun to plaster over the cracks. Scaffolding hugged the sides of Stark Tower, now Avengers Tower, like bandages on a healing limb. The memorials were still fresh, the flowers still vibrant, but the taxis were honking, the bodegas were selling overpriced coffee, and the rhythm of the world had resumed. Tony Stark sat in his workshop, the holographic schematics of the Iron Legion swirling around him in a bath of azure light. He wasn't looking at the armor though, he was looking through it, staring at a readout of atmospheric variances in the upper stratosphere. Sir Jarvis's voice cut through the silence, cool and British and terrifyingly calm. I am detecting a localized gravitational anomaly. Tony spun in his chair, a half-eaten blueberry hanging from his lip. Define localized. Are we talking science experiment gone wrong or Point Break's brother is visiting again? Neither, sir. The energy signature does not match the Bifrost, nor does it match the Tesseract. It is biological. And it is massive. Tony swallowed the blueberry. Where? Directly above Central Park. Sheep Meadow. Get the suit, Tony ordered, striding toward the platform as the floor opened up to reveal the Mark X Halai. And get Cap on the line. Tell him recess is over. In the park, the air didn't tear. It screamed. It wasn't a sound heard with the ears, but a vibration felt in the teeth, in the marrow of the bone. It was the sound of space being forced to accommodate something that was too heavy for it to hold. Families picnicking on the grass froze. A frisbee dropped mid-flight. A dog began to howl, a low, mournful sound that triggered a chain reaction among every canine in a 5-block radius. Then, the sky turned red. It wasn't the neon blue of the Tesseract portals. This was a crimson, viscous red, like blood diluted in water. Clouds boiled away instantly, evaporated by a sudden, crushing heat. The atmosphere buckled. A shockwave hit first. It didn't knock buildings down, but it shattered every window facing the park from 59th to 72nd Street. The glass rained down like diamonds, twinkling in the unnatural red light. Then came the meteor. It was a blur of orange and gold, trailing black smoke. It slammed into the center of Sheep Meadow with the force of a tactical bunker buster. Boom! Dirt, bedrock, and ancient tree roots were vaporized instantly. A mushroom cloud of dust rose high into the air, but it was quickly blown away by a secondary pulse of energy, a rotational force, like a hurricane compressed into a sphere. When the dust settled, the silence that followed was heavier than the explosion. In the center of a crater 50 feet wide and 20 feet deep, steam hissed from the vitrified soil. The ground glowed with molten heat, and in the center of that hell's cape, a boy lay curled in the fetal position. He wore tattered orange and black rags that might have once been a uniform. His blonde hair was matted with blood and ash. His skin was scorched, but it was what surrounded him that made the first responding NYPD officers drop their radios. A shroud of bubbling, translucent red energy shaped like a fox coated the boy's body. It had tails, 9 of them, flicking lazily, burning the air around them. The boy twitched. Shield helicarrier, command bridge, status report. Nick Fury's voice was a whip crack across the chaotic bridge. Seismic event in Manhattan, Maria Hill replied, her fingers flying across her console. Magnitude 4.2. Localized entirely within Central Park. Radiation sensors are spiking, but it's not gamma. It's unknown. Is it an attack? We don't know yet. But satellite imagery shows a single point of impact. Hill threw the image onto the main screen. It was grainy, zoomed in from orbit. Thermal imaging shows a heat source of 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit in the crater. Fury narrowed his one good eye. Stark, en route. ETA 2 minutes. Rogers and Romanoff are 5 minutes out in the Quinjet. Get a containment team ready, Fury ordered, turning to walk toward the elevator. And get me aligned to the World Security Council. If this is another alien invasion, I want the nukes disabled before those idiots try to glass the island again. Sir, an analyst called out, voice trembling. The energy readings, they're fluctuating. It sounds like a heartbeat. Central Park, the crater. Pain was the only reality. Naruto Uzumaki opened his eyes, but his vision was swimming in a sea of red. His body felt like it had been put through a meat grinder, reassembled, and then ground up again. Kurama? He projected the thought, his mental voice raspy. I'm here, Naruto, the great fox's voice rumbled, sounding unusually weary. But barely. That dimensional tear, it nearly stripped us apart. My chakra is almost depleted trying to keep your physical form from disintegrating in the void. Naruto tried to move his arm. It felt like lead. Where is Kaguya? Sasuke? Gone, Kurama said grimly. Or rather, we are gone. I cannot sense the ten tails. I cannot sense Sasuke's chakra. I cannot even sense the natural energy of the world. The nature energy here, it is stagnant, artificial. We are a long way from home, Kit. Naruto forced himself to sit up. The movement caused the red chakra cloak to flare, scorching the ground beneath him. He looked down at his hands. They were trembling. The truth-seeking orbs were gone. His 6 paths mode had deactivated, leaving him with only the dregs of Kurama's protection. He looked up. Instead of the devastated landscape of the Frost Country, he saw buildings. Tall, glass and steel towers that scraped the sky, higher than anything in Amigakure. He saw trees, green and lush, surrounding the crater. He heard sirens, wailing, mechanical screams that hurt his enhanced ears. Genjutsu? No, Kurama growled. Reality. But not ours. Naruto staggered to his feet. His legs wobbled. He sensed them then, people. Thousands of them. Their life forces were dim, flickering candles compared to the shinobi he was used to. But their emotions, fear, it hit him like a physical wave. Panic. Terror. Confusion. Freeze! The shout came from the lip of the crater. Naruto squinted through the steam. Men in blue uniforms were standing there, pointing black metal objects at him. Guns. But different from the flintlocks and crude rifles of the land of iron. These looked sleek, deadly. Put your hands in the air. One of the officers screamed, his voice cracking. Do it now! Naruto didn't understand the words. The language was harsh, guttural, but he understood the intent. He sensed the killing intent rolling off them. It wasn't the refined, sharp killing intent of a ninja. It was the messy, frantic desire to kill out of fear. Naruto rasped. His throat was dry as sand. I'm not. He took a step forward. Bang! A bullet struck his shoulder. It didn't penetrate. The red chakra cloak vaporized the lead on impact. But the kinetic force made Naruto stumble back. They attacked us, Kurama snarled, his instincts flaring. Crush them. No, Naruto thought, clamping down on the fox's rage. They're scared. They don't know. Hold fire! Hold fire, you idiots! Bullets aren't working! A roaring sound from the sky drew Naruto's attention upward. A man in a suit of red and gold armor descended from the clouds, jets of blue fire erupting from his hands and feet. He hovered 20 feet above the crater, his faceplate glowing. Iron Man. Okay, Rudolph, the metal man's voice boomed from external speakers. You've made a mess of the lawn. Why don't you power down the glowstick act, and we can talk about who's paying for the landscaping? Naruto tilted his head. He sensed a man inside the metal shell. A man with a bright, frantic spark of life, but shrouded in anxiety. Who are you? Naruto asked in Japanese. The metal man paused. Jarvis, translation? Japanese, sir? He asked who you are. Tell him I'm the guy with the big gun. Tell him to stand down. Before Naruto could respond, a sleek black jet roared over the trees, the wind from its engines whipping the dust into a frenzy. Ropes dropped, and 2 figures descended rapidly. One was a man in blue with a shield on his back. The other was a woman with hair as red as the Uzumaki clan, dressed in tight black leather. Captain America and Black Widow landed on the edge of the crater, flanking the police officers. Stand down, officers, Steve Rogers commanded, his voice carrying an authority that made the police lower their weapons instantly. "Shield has jurisdiction now." Steve looked down into the crater. He saw a boy, no older than 17, bleeding, surrounded by a terrifying aura of red energy that felt evil. It felt like the Red Skull's ideology given physical form. "Son," Steve called out, stepping forward, his hands raised. "We don't want to hurt you." Naruto narrowed his eyes. He focused on the man with the shield. Soldier. Honorable. Strong. Then the woman. Assassin. Cold. Calculating. "Where am I?" Naruto asked again, his voice echoing with a slight growl due to the chakra cloak. "Language barrier is still up, Cap," Tony said over the comms. "He's speaking Japanese. But the energy readings. Steve, be careful. That red stuff is ionizing the air. It's radioactive in a way I haven't seen before." Natasha Romanoff watched the boy. She didn't see a monster, she saw a cornered animal. But she also saw the power. The ground beneath his feet was turning to glass just from his presence. "Thor is 2 minutes out," Natasha said softly into her comms. "Maybe he knows what this is." Naruto clutched his chest. The pain was getting worse. His chakra coils were spasming. He needed to rest. He needed to turn off the cloak, but if he did, he felt like his body would fall apart. "Stay back," Naruto warned, switching to a rough, broken English he had picked up from Killer Bee's bad rap battles. "Dangerous. We know," Tony said, dropping lower. "That's why you need to turn it off." "Can't," Naruto grit out. He fell to one knee. The red chakra flared wildly, lashing out like a whip. A tendril of energy struck a nearby oak tree. The tree didn't just break, it exploded into splinters, and the wood instantly turned to ash. The police officer screamed and scrambled back. "Target is hostile," Tony shouted, raising his repulsors. "Tony, wait!" Steve yelled, but the instinct of the crowd had shifted. Fear had taken over. A SWAT sniper on a nearby roof, seeing the monster destroy the tree, took the shot. The high-caliber round struck Naruto in the temple. His head snapped back. The chakra cloak absorbed the impact, but the sheer force rattled his brain. "Silence." Naruto lowered his head. His eyes, usually blue, bled into the slit-pupilled crimson of the Kyuubi. "They want to kill us," Kurama roared. "Show them why that is a mistake." "No!" Naruto screamed, clutching his head. But the chakra responded to the threat. A massive arm of red energy materialized from Naruto's back. It stretched out 50 feet in a blink, smashing into the rooftop where the sniper lay. The brickwork crumbled like sand. The sniper scrambled away just in time as the claw crushed the parapet. "Engage!" Tony shouted. Iron Man fired a repulsor blast. It struck Naruto square in the chest. Naruto flew back, slamming into the wall of the crater. The pain was blinding. He roared, a sound that was half human, half beast. He pushed off the wall, moving faster than the human eye could track. "Fast!" Natasha yelled, diving and rolling as Naruto appeared where she had been standing a microsecond before. He didn't attack her. He just moved through the space, the wind pressure of his passage knocking her off her feet. Steve threw his shield. The vibranium disc curved through the air, slamming into Naruto's ribs. It bounced off with a metallic clang, as if hitting a tank. Naruto caught the shield on the rebound. He held it, looking at the star in the center. He looked at Steve. There was sadness in the boy's eyes that stopped Steve cold. "Why?" Naruto asked. Then lightning struck. The sky cracked open as a bolt of pure electricity slammed into the crater, separating Naruto from the Avengers. Thor landed in a crouch, Mjolnir humming with power. The Asgardian stood tall, his cape billowing. He looked at Naruto, and his expression wasn't one of battle fury, but of recognition. And horror. "Hold!" Thor bellowed, his voice shaking the remaining glass in the windows. Tony hovered nearby. "Thor, hit him! He's tearing the park apart." "Nay!" Thor raised his hammer, not at Naruto, but between the boy and the Avengers. "Do not strike him again." "What?" Tony landed. "Point break, look at him. He's a walking Chernobyl." "He is a Jinchuriki," Thor said, the word strange and ancient on his tongue. The Avengers paused. Naruto looked at Thor. He sensed the nature energy rolling off the man. Divine energy, like the old man's 6 paths, you know. Naruto panted, blood trickling down his chin. I have read the chronicles of the elemental nations in the royal library of Asgard, Thor said solemnly. Beings who hold demons within their bellies. Living prisons. Thor looked at his friends. He is not the source of the evil. He is the cage that holds it. The red chakra began to recede. Naruto was reaching his limit. The adrenaline of the crash was fading, leaving only the bone-deep exhaustion of the dimension hop. The fox-shaped cloak dissolved, steaming into nothingness. Naruto slumped, his knees hitting the vitrified dirt. He looked like what he was, a 17-year-old boy who had fought too many wars. Help! Naruto whispered. He fell forward. Steve Rogers moved before anyone else. He sprinted forward, catching the boy before he hit the ground. He ignored the heat radiating from Naruto's skin, heat intense enough to blister Steve's hands through his gloves. Medical! Steve shouted into his comms. We need medical down here, now! Hostile is down. I repeat, the kid is down. Tony landed, his faceplate flipping up. He scanned Naruto with his suit's sensors. Readings are dropping. But Steve, the radiation levels. You shouldn't be touching him. He's a kid, Tony, Steve said, looking at the whisker marks on Naruto's cheeks. He's just a kid. 1 hour later, shield quarantine zone. The perimeter had been established. Black SUVs and shield transport trucks formed a barricade around the park. Men in yellow hazmat suits were sweeping the crater, Geiger counters clicking frantically. But it wasn't the radiation that had the crowd pressing against the police barricades on Fifth Avenue. It was the footage. In the age of smartphones, nothing stayed secret. A video taken by a teenager in the park had already gone viral. It showed the monster of Manhattan. The footage was shaky, but clear enough. It showed a figure wreathed in demonic red light. It showed the glowing red eyes. It showed the massive chakra claw crushing the building. And most damningly, it showed the Avengers, Earth's mightiest heroes, hesitating. The news cycles were already spinning. Is this a new Chitauri weapon? A mutant terrorist attack? The devil in Central Park? Inside the mobile command center, Nick Fury watched the footage on a loop. He paused it on the frame where Naruto's eyes were visible. The slit pupils, the raw, unadulterated malice of the Ninetales leaking through. You saw what he did to the tree, Fury said, not turning around as Steve and Tony entered the trailer. And the sniper nest. That wasn't technology. That was pure biological energy projection. He was defending himself, Steve argued, crossing his arms. We fired first. He crash-landed in the middle of the most populated city on Earth with enough force to register as an earthquake, Fury countered. That is an act of aggression until proven otherwise. Thor says he's a vessel, Tony said, pouring himself a cup of coffee. His hands were shaking slightly. A Jinchuriki. Apparently, in some dimensions, they stuff demons into kids to keep them from destroying the world. It's medieval. Barbaric. And effective? Fury asked. Terrifyingly, Tony admitted. Jarvis analyzed the energy output of that red cloak. Fury, if that kid had wanted to, he could have leveled Manhattan. Not a crater. The whole island. The energy density rivals the Tesseract. Fury turned. Where is he now? We put him in the Hulk containment module on the helicarrier, Steve said, his voice tight with disapproval. He's unconscious. Bruce is monitoring him. Sedated heavily. Good, Fury said. He's a refugee, Nick, Steve said. Not a prisoner. He is a weapon of mass destruction that breathes, Fury said coldly. Until I know he won't wake up and turn New York into a parking lot, he stays in the box. Fury pointed at the screen, at the frozen image of the glowing red demon. Look at that face, Captain. You want to tell the public that's a hero? Because I'm looking at the Poles coming in. They're terrified. They don't see a boy. They see a monster. And right now, my job isn't to hold his hand. It's to make sure the world doesn't try to kill him out of fear, or that he doesn't kill the world in self-defense. The raft, deep storage, temporary holding, Naruto floated in a dreamless void. Deep within his seal, the sewer landscape of his mind was dark. The water was still. The massive cage that held Kurama was silent. The fox lay with his head on his paws, his tails wrapped around him. He was exhausted, his chakra reserves dangerously low. This world is different, Naruto, Kurama rumbled to the sleeping boy's consciousness. The humans here, they are fragile. Their fear is sharp. In our world, fear was respect. Here, fear is hate. Kurama opened one giant eye, staring through the bars of the seal, out through Naruto's own eyes. He saw the thick glass walls of the containment cell. He saw the automated turrets hanging from the ceiling, tracking Naruto's breathing. He saw the scientist, a man with curly hair and glasses, Banner, watching monitors with a look of profound worry. They have caged us, Kurama growled low in his throat. They treat you like a beast. The fox bared his teeth in the darkness. If they treat us like monsters, I should show them what a monster truly is. But he looked at Naruto's sleeping form, floating in the water of the mindscape. The boy looked so small. So tired. No, Kurama decided, closing his eye. Rest now, Kit. You'll need your strength. We are walking among wolves now. And they have no idea that they have caught a fox. Queens, New York, in a dimly lit apartment, a man sat watching the news. The TV illuminated his scarred face. Baron Helmut Zemo watched the shaky footage of the Manhattan event for the 100th time. He didn't look at the Avengers. He didn't look at the destruction. He looked at the fear on the faces of the civilians in the background. He looked at the way Captain America hesitated. He looked at the raw, uncontrollable power of the boy in the crater. The Avengers create their own enemies, Zemo whispered to the empty room. But this time, perhaps they have imported one. He picked up a notebook and wrote a single line. Subject the fox. Potential asset high. Potential destabilizer, infinite. He smiled, a cold, humorless expression. Welcome to Earth. Manhattan, street level. The cleanup crews were already sweeping the glass from Fifth Avenue. The sun was setting, casting long shadows over the city. A young girl, no older than 6, tugged on her mother's hand as they hurried past the police tape. Mommy? The girl asked. Hush, sweetie, keep walking. Was that a bad man? The Burning Man? The mother looked toward the park, where the smoke was still rising. She shivered, pulling her coat tighter. Yes, baby, she said, her voice trembling. That was a monster. But the Avengers stopped him. They put him away. The girl looked back at the park. She didn't see a monster. She remembered the boy's face for a split second before the video cut out. He looked sad, but her mother was squeezing her hand so hard it hurt. Don't worry, the mother whispered, more to herself than the child. He can't hurt us now. High above, on the helicarrier hidden in the clouds, the boy slept in a glass box, dreaming of ramen and a village that was a universe away, while the world beneath him began to sharpen its knives. The world was a hum. It wasn't the vibrant, living thrum of the elemental nations, the sound of wind rushing through leaves, water trickling over stones, or the subtle, omnipresent vibration of natural energy that a sage could feel in their marrow. This was a mechanical hum. Sterile. Constant. Artificial. Naruto Uzumaki lay on a cot that was too stiff, in a room that was too white. He didn't open his eyes immediately. His training, drilled into him by Kakashi and sharpened by the toads, demanded that he assess his internal state before engaging with the external. Chakra reserves low. Critically low. Physical damage, healing, but slowly. His ribs ached, a dull throb that synchronized with his heartbeat. The burns on his skin from the dimensional friction were itching, a sign that Kurama's regeneration was working, albeit at a snail's pace. Kurama? He projected the thought inward. Usually, the response was immediate, a growl, a snort, or a sarcastic quip. This time, there was a pause. A silence that stretched long enough to make Naruto's heart stutter. I am here, the great fox finally replied. The voice sounded heavy, like a stone dragged across gravel. But do not ask me to manifest. I do not have the strength. Naruto mentally projected himself into his seal. The sewer system was dim. The water, usually ankle-deep and rippling with power, was barely a thin film over the stone floor. The massive cage loomed in the darkness, but the seal on the gate looked different. The paper slip was there, but the intricate kanji formula seemed to be vibrating, fighting against some unseen pressure. Inside, Kurama lay with his head on his front paws. His fur, usually a vibrant, burning orange, looked duller. What's wrong with us? Naruto asked, walking up to the bars. I feel heavy. Like I'm trying to breathe underwater. It is this place, Kurama rumbled, opening one crimson eye. This dimension. It is wrong, Naruto. In our world, chakra is the bridge between the physical and the spiritual. It is woven into the atmosphere, the soil, the life forms. We draw from it unconsciously. The fox shifted, his massive tails sliding sluggishly across the floor. Here, the air is empty. There is energy, yes, but it is not chakra. It is science. It is physics without spirit. To exist here, to use jutsu, we must generate 100% of the chakra from our own internal stamina. We cannot borrow from the environment because there is nothing to borrow. Naruto gripped the bars. So sage mode is impossible, Kurama confirmed. Or at least suicidal. If you try to draw in natural energy here, you might pull in something else. Radiation? Pollutants? Void energy? I do not know. Until I can analyze the atmosphere, you are limited to what you have. And right now, Kit, you are running on fumes. Naruto exited his mindscape and finally opened his physical eyes. He was in a glass box. It was a cylindrical room, perhaps 30 feet across, suspended in the center of a massive hangar. The walls were thick, transparent polymer. Through the glass, he could see metal catwalks, industrial machinery, and men in uniforms patrolling with assault rifles. He sat up slowly. The movement caused a ripple of pain up his spine, but he masked it. He swung his legs over the side of the cot and placed his bare feet on the cold metal floor. He looked at his reflection in the glass. He was wearing gray sweatpants and a gray t-shirt that was too tight across the shoulders. Someone had cleaned him up. The blood was gone, though the whisker marks on his cheeks seemed more pronounced against his pale skin. He's awake. The voice came from speakers embedded in the ceiling. Naruto looked up, his blue eyes hardening. He didn't see anyone, but he could sense them. Outside the glass, on a command deck overlooking the containment module, 4 people stood watching him. Shield helicarrier, observation deck 4. Tony Stark tapped the tablet in his hand, bringing up a complex biometric readout. Heart rate elevated to 80 beats per minute. Adrenaline levels spiking. But he's not moving. He's just sitting there. He is assessing, Steve Rogers said quietly. The captain stood with his arms crossed, his gaze fixed on the boy in the cage. He's checking his exits. Checking the guards. He's doing exactly what I would do. He is a child, Bruce Banner murmured, taking off his glasses and rubbing the bridge of his nose. We have a teenager in the Hulk cage, Tony. Does that not feel excessive? We put him in the Hulk cage because he survived a fall from orbit and leveled Central Park with a sneeze, Tony countered, though his usual snark lacked its bite. Excessive is my middle name, but in this case, it's just prudence. You saw the readings, Bruce. When he landed, the energy output was equivalent to a tactical nuke. If he throws a tantrum, I'd prefer he does it inside 30 inches of reinforced polyglass. Thor Odinson stood apart from the others, leaning on Mjolnir. He stared at Naruto with a mixture of curiosity and wariness. It is not a tantrum you need to fear, man of iron, Thor rumbled. It is the beast, the fox thing? Tony waved a hand. We've seen the footage. Is it a construct? A suit? Magic? It is a living thing, Thor said gravely. The boy is a Jinchuriki. In the ancient texts of the cosmos, they are known as the power of human sacrifice. They are vessels. Prisons. They hold demons of unfathomable power within their bodies to safeguard their villages. Bruce looked at Thor, his face paling. So, he turns into a monster? Like? He gestured vaguely at himself. Not like you, Banner, Thor corrected gently. The Hulk is a part of you. This demon, it is a separate entity. A prisoner. And prisoners are rarely happy with their jailers. Great, Tony muttered. So we have a kid possessed by a demon fox from another dimension. Just another Tuesday. Can we offer it a chicken? Foxes like chickens, right? This is not a joke, Steve snapped. He turned to look at the containment cell. Naruto was now standing, walking slowly around the perimeter of the glass, trailing a hand along the surface. He's scared. I can see it. He attacked the police, Cap, Tony pointed out. After they shot him, he destroyed a building. He was disoriented. He nearly killed Natasha. He didn't kill Natasha, Steve argued. He moved faster than any of us. If he wanted us dead, we'd be dead. He held back. Before the argument could escalate, the pneumatic doors to the observation deck hissed open. Nick Fury strode in, his black leather trench coat flowing behind him like a cape of shadows. Natasha Romanoff was a step behind him, her expression unreadable. "Gentlemen," Fury said, his single eye sweeping the room. "The World Security Council is breathing down my neck. They want to know if we have a weapon, a threat or a corpse." "We have a boy," Steve said firmly. "We have an asset," Fury corrected. He moved to the console and pressed a button. "Romanoff, you're with me. Stark, keep the automated defenses online. If the glass cracks, flood the chamber with the sedative gas. If that doesn't work, vent the cell." Steve stiffened. "Vent the cell? You mean drop him out of the sky?" 30,000 feet is a long way down," Fury said, his voice devoid of emotion. "Let's hope he can land on his feet twice." "This is wrong, Nick," Steve said, stepping into Fury's path. Fury stopped. He looked up at the super soldier. "You know what's wrong, Captain? A crater in the middle of Manhattan. Panic in the streets. I have a job to do. My job is to make sure the 6 billion people on this planet get to wake up tomorrow. If I have to be the bad guy to a kid from another universe to make that happen, I'll sleep just fine." Fury stepped around Steve and headed for the lift that led down to the containment level. Natasha followed, pausing only briefly to glance at Steve. "We'll handle it, Steve," she said softly. "Just stay ready." Containment level. Naruto stopped pacing as the airlock hissed. The heavy metal door at the base of the glass cylinder opened. 2 figures stepped inside the outer perimeter. He recognized them. The one-eyed man. The leader. Strong presence. Deceptive. Dangerous. And the woman with the red hair. Assassin. Hidden knives. Guilt. They walked up to the glass. Naruto stood in the center of the room, barefoot, looking at them. He didn't take a fighting stance, but his muscles were coiled, ready to snap into motion. Fury tapped the glass with a knuckle. "Thick stuff. Designed to hold a green rage monster that can bench press a tank. I wouldn't try punching your way out." Naruto stared at him. "I wasn't planning to." His English was better now. While unconscious, his mind had processed the language patterns he'd heard during the brief fight. It was a ninja skill, rapid assimilation. It wasn't perfect, but it was functional. "Good," Fury said. "Because that would make this conversation very short. I'm Director Nick Fury. This is Agent Romanoff. You're currently guests of S.H.I.E.L.D. Guests usually aren't in cages," Naruto said dryly. "Guests usually don't drop out of the sky and blow up public parks." Fury clasped his hands behind his back. "Let's start with the basics. Name, Naruto Uzumaki. And where are you from, Mr. Uzumaki?" Naruto hesitated. How could he explain Konoha? The elemental nations? A place you can't get to. A village called Konohagakure. The village hidden in the leaves. "Hidden in the leaves," Fury repeated, his tone skeptical. "Sounds quaint. And how did you get here?" "I don't know," Naruto admitted. "I was in a war. We were fighting a woman named Kaguya. She was a goddess. She shifted dimensions like she was changing clothes. I attacked her. There was an explosion. A tear in space. Then I woke up in your crater." Fury exchanged a glance with Natasha. "A war? What kind of war?" Naruto looked down at his hands. "The kind where everyone dies. The Fourth Great Ninja War." Natasha stepped forward, her voice softer than Fury's, but no less probing. "You say you're a ninja. A shinobi. But the energy readings we got off you, that wasn't martial arts. That was power. What was the red light, Naruto? What was the fox?" Naruto flinched. The question hung in the air. "Tell them," Kurama said. "Lying implies weakness. We have nothing to hide." "His name is Kurama," Naruto said. "He's a tailed beast. A mass of living chakra. And he's inside you?" Natasha asked. "Since the day I was born." Naruto touched his stomach. "He was sealed inside me to save my village. I'm a Jinchuriki. The power of human sacrifice. Fury's eye narrowed. Sacrifice. That implies you're disposable. No, Naruto looked up, his eyes blazing with a sudden intensity that made Natasha's hand twitch toward her holster. It means I'm the wall. I'm the one who holds the monster back so the people can sleep. I endure the hate so they don't have to endure the pain. The silence that followed was heavy. Fury studied the boy. He had interrogated spies, aliens, gods, and traitors. He knew a liar when he saw one. This kid believed every word he was saying. And that was what made him dangerous. A true believer with the power of a nuclear bomb was the most terrifying thing on Earth. You speak of peace, Fury said, circling the glass. But my analysts tell me that the energy inside you is corrosive. It's hateful. It feels like death. Kurama has a bad temper, Naruto admitted, a small, sad smile touching his lips. We're working on it. But he's not evil. He's just angry. He's been used as a weapon for 1,000 years. You'd be angry too. I am angry, Fury said. I'm angry that I have a variable I can't control sitting on my ship. Fury stopped and faced Naruto directly. Here's the situation, Naruto. You are an undocumented alien entity with Class A destructive capabilities. Legally, you don't exist. Practically, you are the biggest threat to national security since the Chitauri invasion. There are people, powerful people, who want me to dissect you to see how you tick. They want to know if they can replicate that red energy. Naruto's hands clenched into fists. Let them try. I'd rather not, Fury said calmly. Because if they try, you'll kill them. And then my team will have to kill you. And a lot of good people will die in the crossfire. I don't want that. And judging by the fact that you pulled your punches in the park, either do you. So what do you want? Naruto asked. I want a deal. Fury stepped closer to the glass. You want to go home, right? Back to your Leaf Village? More than anything, Naruto whispered. SHIELD has resources. We have the smartest minds on the planet. We have data on dimensional travel that is decades ahead of the rest of the world. We can help you. We can find a way to reopen that door. And in exchange, you work for me. Naruto blinked. Work for you? Like a ninja? Like an Avenger, Fury said. The world is getting weirder, Naruto. Aliens. Gods. Robots. We need heavy hitters. We need people who can walk into a hurricane and punch it in the face. You have power. I need that power. Naruto looked at Natasha. She gave a microscopic nod. He's telling the truth. Naruto looked back at Fury. He saw the cold calculation, but he also saw the resolve. This man was a leader. He reminded Naruto of Danzo, which made his skin crawl, but he also reminded him of the Raikage. Hard. Uncompromising. But protective of his own. I'm not a weapon, Naruto said firmly. I'm not asking you to be a gun, Fury replied. I'm asking you to be a shield. You said you're a Jinchuriki? You said you endure so others don't have to. Well, there are 7 billion people down there who can't endure what's coming. Help us protect them, and I will move heaven and earth to get you home. Naruto closed his eyes. He thought of Kakashi. Those who abandon their friends are worse than scum. He thought of the third Hokage. The village is a family. He was stuck here. He had no money, no allies, no knowledge of this world. He was running on empty. If he went out there alone, he would be hunted. And if he fought back, he would become the villain. Do it, Kit, Kurama advised. We need time to recover. We need information. This one-eyed man is untrustworthy, but he is useful. Use him as he uses you. Naruto opened his eyes. The blue was clear, determined. I have conditions, Naruto said. Fury raised an eyebrow. I'm listening. I don't kill unless I have to. If I can talk them down, I talk them down. Acceptable, Fury said. Though some people don't like to listen. Second. I need ramen. Natasha blinked, breaking her stoic mask for a second. Excuse me? Ramen, Naruto said, his stomach giving a treacherous growl. Miso base. Extra chashu pork. I haven't eaten since the war started. Fury stared at him for a long moment. Then, the corner of his mouth twitched upward. We have a cafeteria. I think we can manage some noodles. Then we have a deal, Naruto said. Fury pressed his hand against the glass scanner. Welcome to the Avengers Initiative, kid. Try not to break anything. Shield helicarrier briefing room. The atmosphere in the briefing room was thick enough to cut with a kunai. You recruited him? Steve Rogers slammed his hand on the table. He's a child, Nick. He's 17 years old. He's a soldier, Fury retorted, leaning back in his chair at the head of the table. He's fought in a war. He's killed. He's seen more combat than half the agents on this ship. That doesn't make it right. Steve paced the room. We're supposed to be better than this. We don't draft teenagers. I was a teenager when I built my first circuit board, Tony piped up from the corner, where he was tinkering with a holographic display of Naruto's chakra network. Just saying. Age is a number. Power output is a fact. He is mentally unstable, Bruce pointed out, his voice shaking slightly. The entity inside him. Kurama. It's made of pure negative emotion. If he loses control on a mission, then we put him down, Fury said. The room went silent. That is the contingency, Fury continued, his voice hard. But until then, he is the strongest deterrent we have. You saw the news. Hydra is still out there. AIM is making moves. We have gods falling from the sky. I need a hammer. Naruto is a sledgehammer. He is a person, Natasha said quietly. She was sitting at the table, sharpening a knife. I talked to him. He's lonely. He's scared. He's putting up a brave front, but he's terrified, which makes him easy to manipulate, Clint Barton, Hawkeye said from the shadows. He had arrived midway through the briefing. Standard playbook. Isolate the asset, make them dependent on you for protection, then point them at the target. I am not manipulating him, Fury lied smoothly. I am giving him a purpose. He wants to go home. We are his ticket. It's a transaction. It's coercion, Steve said. Does he even know that the World Security Council voted to have him executed an hour ago? No, Fury said. And you're not going to tell him. Because if he knows the government wants him dead, he might decide to strike first. Right now, he trusts us. Let's keep it that way. Thor cleared his throat. The boy has a warrior spirit. I sensed it. He carries a heavy burden. In Asgard, such a burden would be honored. Here, you seek to leash it. This isn't Asgard, Thor, Fury said. This is Earth. And on Earth, we keep our monsters on a leash until we need them to bite. Fury stood up. Stark, get with Banner. Figure out how his energy works. I want to know if he's radioactive, if he's contagious, or if he's going to explode. Rogers, Romanoff, you're on babysitting duty. Get him settled. Get him some clothes that aren't rags. And for God's sake, get him some ramen before he eats the guards. The Commons. Naruto sat at a metal table in the mess hall. It was late, so the room was mostly empty, save for a few agents who gave him a wide berth, whispering behind their hands. He had a bowl of noodles in front of him. It wasn't Ichiraku's. The broth was too salty, the noodles too instant, but it was hot, and it was food. He ate voraciously, inhaling the noodles with a speed that defied physics. Slow down, or you'll get sick. Naruto looked up. Steve Rogers stood there, holding a tray with a glass of milk and an apple. The captain sat down opposite him. It's good, Naruto mumbled through a mouthful. Better than soldier pills, I bet. Steve watched him eat. Look, Naruto, about what Fury said. Naruto swallowed. He wiped his mouth with the back of his hand. He thinks I'm a weapon. I know. Steve blinked. You know, I've met guys like him before, Naruto said, his eyes darkening. Danzo. The rakeage. They see the power, not the person. They think if they point me at the enemy, I'll just blow everything up. And will you? Steve asked. Naruto leaned back. If I have to. To protect my friends. We're not your friends yet, Naruto, Steve said gently. We're strangers. You didn't kill me, Naruto said. That's a start. Steve sighed. He looked at the boy, really looked at him. He saw the exhaustion and the slump of his shoulders. He saw the flicker of trauma in his eyes whenever a loud noise echoed through the ship. This kid had PTSD. Steve knew the look well. He saw it in the mirror every morning. I want you to know, Steve said, leaning forward. I don't agree with this. I think you should be free to live a normal life. Go to school. Watch movies. Be a kid. Naruto laughed. It was a dry, rasping sound. I haven't been a kid since I was 12, Captain. Ninjas don't get to be kids. We get to be tools. Not here, Steve said firmly. You're an Avenger now. That means you're part of a team. And on my team, nobody gets left behind, and nobody gets used. I've got your back, Naruto. Even against fury. Naruto looked at Steve. He sensed the honesty. It was blindingly bright, like the sun. It reminded him of Tucci, he thought. Or Irika-sensei. Thanks, Cap, Naruto said softly. Suddenly, the screens on the wall of the mess hall flickered. The standard SHIELD logo was replaced by a breaking news alert from WHIH World News. Breaking terror in Manhattan. Naruto froze. The anchorwoman's face appeared, looking grave. Panic continues to grip New York City tonight following the arrival of an unidentified hostile entity in Central Park. Sources confirm the entity, dubbed the Demon of New York by social media, possesses destructive capabilities exceeding the Chitauri forces. An image of Naruto appeared, a zoomed-in still from the video. His face was twisted in pain, his eyes glowing red, his teeth bared in a snarl. He looked feral. Evil. Leaked reports from inside the quarantine zone suggest the creature is being held by SHIELD, but questions are being raised. Is this a new weapon? An alien invader? Senator Stern has called for the immediate surrender of the entity to military custody for destruction. The screen cut to a clip of a protest forming outside Stark Tower. People were holding signs. No more aliens. Kill the beast. Protect our children. Naruto stopped eating. The noodles turned to ash in his mouth. He could feel it. Even from here, high in the sky. He could sense the emotions radiating from the city below. Fear. So much fear. In Konoha, he had been hated. He had been ignored. He had been the dead last, the prankster, the nuisance. But eventually, he had become the hero. They had chanted his name. Here, they didn't know his name. They only knew the fox. Turn it off, Steve said, standing up and looking around for a remote. Don't listen to that garbage. They hate me, Naruto whispered. They're scared, Steve said. People fear what they don't understand. I tried to save them, Naruto said, his voice trembling. I held it back. I didn't let Kurama out. I only used a little bit, just to survive. I know, Steve said, putting a hand on Naruto's shoulder. Naruto looked at the screen again. The Chirin red monster or weapon? It's happening again, Naruto said, his voice hollow. It's just like before. I'm the monster. Ignore them, Kurama's voice growled in his head, but it lacked its usual arrogance. They are sheep, Naruto. Sheep always fear the wolf. Do not let their bleeding weaken you. Naruto pushed the bowl away. He wasn't hungry anymore. I'm tired, he said, standing up. Can I go back to my room? It's not a cell anymore, Steve said. We're setting up quarters for you. A real bed. It doesn't matter, Naruto said, walking toward the door. Walls are walls. Steve watched him go. He saw the slump in the boy's posture, the way he hugged his own arms as if cold. Steve looked back at the TV screen, at the hateful words scrolling across the bottom. Tony, Steve tapped his comms earpiece. Go ahead, Cap. I need you to find out who leaked that footage. The sniper shot was edited out. Someone is trying to frame the kid. There was a pause on the line. I'm already on it, Steve, Tony said, his voice grim. But once something is on the internet, it's forever. The kid is trending. And not in a good way. Unknown location. In a dark room illuminated only by the glow of multiple monitors, a man watched the same news report. Baron Strucker adjusted his monocle. He watched the loop of Naruto's chakra arm destroying the stone parapet. Magnificent, Strucker whispered. The energy signature is unlike anything we have seen, a scientist next to him said. Dr. Liss believes it is not cosmic, but biological. A localized energy source of immense density. And SHIELD has it, Strucker mused. Fury will try to tame it. He will try to put a collar on it and call it a hero, Strucker smiled. But you cannot tame a force of nature. You can only direct it. He turned to the scientist. Accelerate the twins program. If the Avengers have a monster, then we must have gods. Strucker looked back at the screen, at the glowing red eyes of Naruto Uzumaki, and begin the propaganda campaign. If the world fears him, he will have nowhere to turn. A lonely child is a malleable child. Make him a pariah. Make him the villain. Yes, Baron. Strucker leaned back. The age of miracles is beginning. And the fox will be the spark that burns it all down. Shield helicarrier, guest quarters. Naruto lay on the new bed. It was softer than the cot, but he couldn't sleep. He stared at the ceiling. He missed the sound of the cicadas in Konoha. He missed the smell of Ichiraku's. He missed Sakura's yelling and Sasuke's brooding silence. He lifted his hand. A small sphere of blue chakra formed in his palm, a Rasengan, no bigger than a marble. It sputtered and flickered, struggling to maintain its shape in this energy-starved atmosphere. He let it dissipate. We're going to be okay, right, Kurama? We have survived worse, the fox replied. We survived Madara. We survived Obito. We survived the moon goddess. A few frightened humans and a man with one eye are nothing. They think I'm a monster, Naruto thought. Let them, Kurama said. Fear is power, Naruto. If they fear you, they will not attack you. Use their fear. I don't want to be feared, Naruto thought, closing his eyes. I want to be acknowledged. Then you have work to do, Kurama said. Sleep, Kit. Tomorrow, the training begins. We must learn to fight in this airless void. We must learn to be shinobi in a world of iron men. Naruto rolled over, facing the wall. Outside the window, the clouds drifted by, indifferent to the boy who had fallen from the stars. He was an asset. A weapon. A monster. But as he drifted off to sleep, he clenched his fist. I am Naruto Uzumaki, he told himself. And I never go back on my word. He would help them. He would protect them. Even if they hated him for it. That was his nindo. That was his ninja way. But in the darkness of the new world, even his ninja way felt fragile. The training room on the shield helicarrier was state-of-the-art. It boasted reinforced vibranium alloy walls, hard-light holographic projectors capable of simulating a Chitauri invasion, and automated combat drones programmed with the fighting styles of the world's deadliest martial artists. For Naruto Uzumaki, it felt like fighting in a cardboard box. Restraint, Naruto. Steve Rogers' voice cut through the recycled air. You're telegraphing. Naruto ducked under a spinning backfist from the captain. He didn't use a jutsu. He didn't use a clone. He just used raw speed, shifting his weight and weaving inside Steve's guard. I'm not telegraphing, Naruto grunted, catching Steve's shield on his forearm. The impact rattled his bones, but he didn't slide back an inch. I'm just faster. Speed isn't everything, Steve countered. He hooked his leg behind Naruto's, using the boy's momentum against him. It was a classic judo throw, executed with super soldier precision. In the elemental nations, a shinobi would have substituted with a log, or burst into smoke, or simply tanked the hit and countered. But Naruto was trying to play by their rules. He let himself be thrown, slapping the mat to break his fall. He bounced up instantly, a grin plastering his face. Again? Take 5, Steve said, breathing slightly heavier than usual. He lowered his shield. You're relying on your durability, Naruto. You take hits because you know they won't kill you, but in the field, taking a hit means you're distracted. And a distracted teammate gets people killed. Naruto wiped sweat from his forehead. The chakra-dampening cuffs Tony had designed were clamped around his wrists. They didn't stop him from using chakra, but they made it harder, like trying to run through water. It was Fury's condition for letting him train. I know, Naruto said, stretching his arms. Watch your 6. Check your corners. Minimize collateral. You guys worry too much. A fight is a fight. You hit them harder than they hit you. That's a soldier's thinking, Steve said, walking over to the water bench. Not a hero's. What's the difference? A soldier fights to win the war, Steve said, looking at his reflection in the polished vibranium of his shield. A hero fights to save the people caught in the middle. Sometimes, winning isn't the most important thing. How you win matters. Naruto frowned. It sounded like something Itachi might have said. Or maybe Jiraiya. But here, in this meta world, it felt restrictive. Back home, if you didn't win, your village burned. Sir, Jarvis's voice echoed from the overhead speakers. Director Fury requires the Avengers in the briefing room. Code red. Steve's demeanor shifted instantly. The mentor was gone. The captain remained. Suit up, Naruto. Recess is over. Briefing room. The holographic table displayed a topographic map of a mountainous region in Eastern Europe. A red dot pulsed ominously near a massive concrete structure spanning a river valley. The Orava Dam, Nick Fury announced as the team assembled. Located on the border of Slovakia and Poland. It supplies power to 3 major cities and regulates the water level for the entire valley below. Let me guess, Tony Stark said, tapping the hologram. Someone's trying to turn it into a water slide? Hydra, Natasha Romanoff said, reading the file. Remnants of Strucker's cell. We've been tracking chatter about a clean energy project. Turns out, they aren't building solar panels. Satellite recon shows they've retrofitted the dam's turbines with Chitauri salvage, Fury explained. They're using the hydroelectric output to charge a static cannon. The weapon is aimed at Warsaw, but if they fire it, the feedback loop will shatter the dam. Bruce Banner adjusted his glasses, looking at the volume estimates. If that dam breaks, 20 million tons of water hits the valley floor. The town of Trudosin is directly in the path. Population, 12,000. They'll be wiped off the map in under 4 minutes, so we have to disable the cannon and save the dam, Steve summarized. Standard dismantle and rescue. Fury turned his single eye toward Naruto, who was standing awkwardly in the back, wearing a tactical vest over his orange and black tracksuit. He looked like a neon sign in a room full of spies. The kid goes, Fury said. The room went silent. Nick, Steve started, warningly. He needs field experience, Fury cut him off. And we need a heavy hitter. If that cannon fires, Iron Man and Thor are going to be busy trying to deflect the beam. I need someone on the ground who can clear the Hydra entrenched positions so Romanoff and Barton can get to the control room. Naruto perked up. I can do that. Clearing crowds is my specialty. Shadow clones are great for. No clones, Fury ordered. Not unless it's an emergency. We want to keep a low profile. If an army of blonde teenagers shows up, the internet breaks again. You stick to hand and low-level energy projection. Do not, I repeat, do not, level the dam. I'm not going to break the dam. Naruto protested. I'm a ninja. Stealth is literally in the job description. Clint Barton snorted from the corner. Kid, you wear a jumpsuit that screams shoot me and you glow in the dark. You're about as stealthy as a marching band. Just stick with Cap, Natasha said, her voice offering a sliver of support. Watch his back. Don't engage the heavy tech unless we give the green light. Naruto nodded, his face serious. Got it. Protect the team. Stop the bad guys. Save the village. Don't get cocky, Kurama's voice rumbled in his head. This technology, it feels unstable. Be ready to move. The Orava Valley, 1400 hours. The Quinjet dropped out of the clouds, banking hard to avoid radar detection. The valley was beautiful, lush green forests flanking a roaring river, with the massive gray curve of the dam dominating the horizon. But as they got closer, the beauty was marred by the jagged, purple glow of alien technology grafted onto the concrete. Drop zone in 3, 2, 1. Steve yelled. The ramp lowered. Naruto felt the rush of wind. It was the first time he felt truly alive since arriving in this dimension. The air was thin and cold. Go! Captain America jumped. Black Widow followed. Hawkeye grappled out. Iron Man and Thor shot into the sky to draw anti-air fire. Naruto leaped. He didn't need a parachute. He channeled chakra to his feet, treating the air like a solid surface for a split second to break his momentum, then landed in a crouch on the forest floor, 50 yards from the dam's western maintenance entrance. Widow, Cap, you're on the west gate, Tony's voice crackled over the comms. Naruto, flank right. Keep the perimeter clear. Don't let them reinforce the main door. Copy that, Naruto whispered. He dashed through the trees. The movement was effortless. He was a blur of motion, leaping from branch to branch. He felt the familiar thrill of the mission. Enemy ahead, Kurama warned. 12 of them. Armed with directed energy weapons, Naruto dropped from the canopy, landing in the middle of a patrol of Hydra soldiers clad in black armor. "Contact!" One screamed, raising a rifle that glowed with blue tesseract energy. Naruto didn't give him time to fire. He swept the soldier's legs, spun, and palm struck the chest plate. Impact. The soldier flew back 10 feet, hitting a tree and slumping over. The other soldiers opened fire. Beams of blue light scorched the air. Naruto weaved. He moved faster than the bolts, ducking under one, sidestepping another. He engaged in close quarters, taijutsu. A knee to the gut, an elbow to the helmet. He wasn't killing them, he was disabling them. Just like Steve said. Sector 4 clear, Naruto said into his comms, standing over the groaning pile of Hydra agents. That was easy. Don't get comfortable, Steve's voice came back strained. They know we're here. The main doors are locking down. We're taking heavy fire. Boom. A massive explosion rocked the valley. Naruto looked up. On top of the dam, a massive turret had rotated. It wasn't the main cannon, it was a defense platform. It fired a purple plasma bolt that clipped Iron Man, sending him spinning into the reservoir. "Tony!" Steve yelled. I'm good, Tony gasped. Shields held, but barely. That thing hits like a freight train. "Thor, can you smash it? I am occupied," Thor bellowed. The god of thunder was wrestling with 2 flying Chitauri chariots that Hydra had somehow reactivated. "Naruto!" Steve called. "We're pinned down at the breach point. A heavy walker just came out of the wall. We can't get past it." Naruto looked through the trees. He saw it. A massive mechanical walker, repurposed from a Chitauri Leviathan's armor, stood between Cap's team and the control room. It was 20 feet tall, armed with Gatling plasma cannons. It was shredding the cover Steve and Natasha were hiding behind. "I'm coming!" Naruto yelled. He abandoned stealth. He burst from the treeline, sprinting across the open concrete of the dam's spillway. "Target acquired," a mechanical voice boomed from the walker. The Gatling gun spun. Naruto didn't dodge. He crossed his fingers. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Poof. 50 Narutos appeared in a cloud of smoke. "Whoa!" Clint yelled from his sniper perch on the ridge. He said, "No clones. Emergency." The real Naruto yelled. The clones swarmed the walker. They were decoys, drawing fire. The plasma bolts tore through them, poofing them out of existence one by one, but they bought seconds. The real Naruto leaped high into the air, a blue sphere forming in his hand. Rasengan! He slammed the spinning ball of chakra into the walker's knee joint. Crunch! Metal twisted and screamed. The walker buckled, falling to one knee. "Nice hit, kid!" Steve yelled, throwing his shield to sever a fuel line on the downed machine. "Now push back. We need to get inside." Naruto landed, feeling good. He was helping. He was winning, but HYDRA wasn't done. "Initiate Omega Protocol," a voice echoed over the facility's PA system. The top of the dam opened. Rising from the depths of the structure wasn't just a cannon. It was a swarm. Hundreds of automated drones, glowing with unstable orange energy, poured out like angry hornets. They didn't target the Avengers, they targeted the town. "They're distracting us," Natasha realized, horror in her voice. "If we stop the cannon, the drones bomb the village. If we stop the drones, the cannon fires on Warsaw." "Tony!" "Thor!" Steve yelled. "The drones. There's too many!" Tony shouted. "Jarvis can't track them all. We can't stop a swarm that size." Naruto watched the drones crest the ridge, heading for the town below. He could feel the panic rising from the village. They saw the swarm coming. Mothers were grabbing children. The fear was palpable. It tasted like ash in his mouth. "They are going to die, Naruto," Kurama said. "Unless you stop holding back." Naruto looked at Steve. Steve was fighting 3 soldiers, desperate. "Cap! The village! We can't be everywhere!" Steve shouted, blocking a bayonet strike. "We have to prioritize the cannon. The cannon kills millions, and the drones kill thousands." Naruto argued. "We save who we can." Naruto froze. "Save who we can? No. That wasn't his way. That wasn't the Hokage's way. You don't choose. You save everyone." Naruto looked at the swarm. They were clustering tight, moving in a formation through the narrowest part of the valley pass before spreading out. If I hit them now, I can get them all, Naruto thought. You need a wide area attack, Kurama noted. Wind style, Raisin Shuriken, Naruto decided. It is dangerous, Kurama warned. This world is fragile. The environment is not reinforced with chakra. The damage will be extensive. I don't care, Naruto shouted internally. I'm not letting them die. Naruto jumped. He didn't jump at the walker. He didn't jump at the door. He jumped straight up, channeling chakra into his legs to propel himself hundreds of feet into the air, hovering above the center of the dam. Naruto, what are you doing? Natasha screamed over the comms. Get down! Naruto ignored her. He raised his right hand. 2 clones appeared beside him, suspended in midair by the chakra grip. They began to work. One molded shape. One molded nature. The hum began. It wasn't the mechanical hum of the Chitauri tech. It was a screech. A high-pitched, piercing whine like a jet engine starting up inside a library. The wind in the valley began to reverse, suck toward Naruto's raised hand. Energy spike! Tony yelled. Massive! Off the charts! Kid, whatever you're doing, aim it away from the dam. A shuriken of pure white-blue energy formed. It grew. And grew. The screaming sound became deafening, shattering the glass in the control tower below. The blades of wind spun so fast the air around them turned into a vacuum. Wind style, Raisin Shuriken! Naruto roared. He hurled it. He didn't aim at the dam. He aimed at the swarm of drones funneling through the valley pass. The jutsu flew. It wasn't a projectile. It was a calamity. It struck the center of the drone swarm. For a second, there was silence. The sphere of energy expanded, swallowing the drones. Then, the world turned white. Screch boom. The explosion wasn't fire. It was a vortex of millions of microscopic winged blades. The sphere expanded to a diameter of 400 feet. It engulfed the drones. It engulfed the trees on the valley walls. It engulfed the river. The sound hit the Avengers like a physical hammer. Steve was thrown off his feet. Natasha covered her ears, screaming in pain as the pressure wave popped her eardrums. The walker, the massive tank Naruto had damaged earlier, was caught in the edge of the blast radius. It didn't explode, it disintegrated. The metal was shredded into dust. The wind pressure slammed against the face of the dam. Concrete groaned. Cracks spiderwebbed across the surface of the massive structure. Naruto fell from the sky, exhausted, landing in a crouch on the top of the dam. He looked up, panting. The drones were gone. Every single one of them had been reduced to metallic glitter raining down on the valley. The forest on the opposing ridge was gone. Where there had been ancient pines, there was now a perfect, smooth crater carved into the mountain, exposing raw bedrock. The silence returned. I did it, Naruto wheezed, grinning. I got 'em all. He stood up, giving a thumbs up to where Steve was picking himself up from the ground. Hey Cap! Did you see that? No drones. Everyone's safe. Steve didn't give a thumbs up. He pulled off his helmet, his face pale, blood trickling from his nose where the pressure wave had hit him. He looked at the crater. He looked at the cracks in the dam, leaking water. Naruto. Steve whispered. What? Naruto blinked. He looked around. The HYDRA agents weren't fighting anymore. They had dropped their weapons. They were staring at Naruto with eyes wide with absolute, primal terror. They surrendered not because they were beaten, but because they were in the presence of something they couldn't comprehend. Tony landed heavily next to Steve. His suit was scorched. Is everyone okay? Tony asked, his voice shaking. Jarvis, give me a structural analysis of the dam. Structural integrity at 45%, Jarvis replied, audible to everyone. The vibrational resonance from the attack nearly liquefied the concrete. A collapse is imminent if stress is not relieved immediately. Open the floodgates, Steve ordered. Manually. Now, the Avengers scrambled. The victory wasn't a celebration. It was a desperate damage control operation. Naruto stood there, confused. But I stopped the bad guys. You nearly killed us all, Clint shouted, rappelling down from his perch. He walked up to Naruto, getting in his face. Are you insane? You fired a tactical nuke in a valley. It wasn't a nuke, Naruto yelled back. It was a jutsu. I controlled it. Controlled? Clint pointed at the cratered mountain. Look at that. That's not control. That's erasure. Stand down, Barton, Steve ordered, rushing past toward the manual release wheel for the floodgates. Naruto stood alone on the dam wall. He felt cold. He looked down at the village of Trodosen. He expected to see people cheering. He expected to see them waving, happy that the drones hadn't bombed them. His enhanced eyesight zoomed in. People were in the streets. But they weren't cheering. They were on their knees, covering their heads. Children were crying. People were pointing up at the dam, at him, and running. Running away. The wind from the raisin shuriken had shattered every window in the town. The sonic boom had likely deafened half the population temporarily. They didn't see a savior. They saw a god of destruction that had just torn a mountain apart above their heads. They fear you, Kurama whispered. I told you. This world cannot handle our power. Naruto took a step back. I saved them, he whispered to himself. You terrified them, Natasha said. She was standing behind him. Her face was unreadable, but her hands were shaking. Naruto, we don't do that here. We don't trade a bombing run for an earthquake. I had to, Naruto said, his voice cracking. You said we couldn't save everyone. I showed you I could. At what cost? Natasha asked. She gestured to the dam, groaning under the water pressure, as the floodgates slowly opened to relieve the stress. If that wall had given way, you would have drowned the very people you were trying to save. Naruto looked at his hands. They were trembling. I just wanted to help. The aftermath, 1800 hours. The cleanup was a nightmare. Shield containment crews were swarming the site. The dam had to be reinforced immediately. The HYDRA agents were rounded up, but they were catatonic, muttering about the great wind. Naruto sat in the back of the Quinjet, isolated. The other Avengers were outside, talking to Fury via hologram. Naruto could hear them. He's a liability, Nick, Tony was saying. I ran the numbers. That attack? It severed the molecular bonds of the air itself. It created a vacuum that nearly collapsed the lungs of anyone within a half-mile radius. It's biological warfare. He eliminated the threat, Fury's voice argued, though it sounded weary. He is a threat, Tony snapped. We got lucky the dam held. Next time? Maybe he sneezes and Florida falls off the map. He's a kid, Tony, Steve's voice. Always defending. He didn't know the structural limits. He saw civilians in danger, and he acted. His heart was in the right place. His heart isn't the problem, Cap. It's the nuke in his stomach. Naruto pulled his knees to his chest. He wasn't a hero here. In Konoha, after the pain arc, the power was proof of his will to protect. Here, the power was just scary. It was too big for their reality. He looked out the window. A news crew had set up on the ridge, filming the cratered mountain. The Chirin on the portable screen inside the jet updated. Avengers save dam, but who caused the quake? Witnesses described living tornado. New codename emerging, the Maelstrom. The Maelstrom, Naruto whispered. It sounded like a villain's name. The ramp of the Quinjet lowered. Steve walked in. He looked tired. He sat down next to Naruto. For a long time, neither of them spoke. You're benched, Steve said softly. Naruto flinched. Benched? Fury's orders. Until you can learn to dial it down. Until you can prove you can fight without altering the geography. Naruto nodded slowly. I understand. Naruto, Steve said, turning to face him. You have a gift. I've never seen power like that. Even Thor looked rattled. But being an Avenger, it's about precision. It's about being a scalpel, not a hammer. I'm not a scalpel, Naruto said, looking at his palms. I'm a Jinchuriki. I was made to be a hammer. Then you have to learn to be something else, Steve said. Or this world will never trust you. Steve stood up and patted Naruto on the shoulder. He walked to the cockpit. Naruto sat alone in the dim light of the jet. They are ungrateful, Kurama growled. We saved their wretched lives. They're right, Kurama, Naruto thought back, a tear sliding down his cheek. I almost broke the dam. I almost killed them. You are a creature of chakra in a world of dust, Kurama said. You will always be too much for them. Naruto closed his eyes. He felt the vibration of the engines starting up. They were going back to the tower. Back to the cage. Below them, the people of Todosan looked up at the sky, not with gratitude, but with the haunting memory of the blue sun that had eaten the mountain. And the whispers began to spread. The Avengers had a new member. And he was not a knight in shining armor, he was a storm. Avengers Tower, that night, Tony Stark stood in his lab, staring at a simulation of the Raisin Shuriken. Jarvis, Tony said quietly. If that attack had hit the dam directly, what would have happened? Based on the energy density and wind velocity, Jarvis replied, the dam would have been atomized. The resulting flood wave would have reached Warsaw in 3 hours. Casualties estimated in the millions. Tony swiped the hologram away. He poured himself a drink. We're sitting on a powder keg, Tony muttered. And Fury just handed it a match. He looked out the window at the New York skyline. We need a contingency, Tony said. I need to design something. Something that can absorb that kind of kinetic energy. Shall I open the Hulkbuster files, sir? No, Tony said, his eyes hard. Bigger. Open the Foxhound file. Sir, that file does not exist. Create it, Tony ordered. And start scanning for vulnerabilities. If the kid snaps, we need to be ready to put him down. Somewhere in Sokovia, Baron Strucker walked through the halls of his fortress. The test was a success, his aide said. We lost the dam facility, and the drones swarm, but the data is invaluable. Strucker looked at the tablet. It showed the thermal reading of the Raisin Shuriken. The Avengers are divided, Strucker noted. Stark fears the boy. Rogers pities him. The public is terrified of him, Strucker smiled. Fear breeds conflict. And conflict breeds order. He walked into a room where 2 young people sat, a boy with silver hair and a girl with dark hair. Wanda and Pietro Maximoff. The Avengers have brought a monster to our doorstep, Strucker told them, showing them the footage of the cratered mountain. Look what they did to the Orava Valley. Look at the destruction. Wanda's eyes glowed red. She looked at the image of Naruto. He is chaos, she whispered. Yes, Strucker said. And you will be the ones to dismantle him. The air inside Avengers Tower was usually filtered, climate-controlled, and smelled faintly of ozone and expensive coffee. Today, however, the atmosphere was heavy, suffocating, as if the oxygen had been replaced by tension. In the sub-basement laboratories, far removed from the plush living quarters, Tony Stark was dissecting a ghost. Or rather, the afterimage of one. Rotate the projection 30 degrees along the z-axis, Tony muttered, his fingers twitching in the air as he manipulated a hard light hologram. Enhance the cellular degradation simulation. Processing, Jarvis replied, his smooth British cadence unbothered by the grim nature of the data. A 3-dimensional rendering of a human arm appeared in the air, a simulation of a Hydra soldier caught in the periphery of Naruto's attack at the Orava Dam. The arm wasn't burned. It wasn't crushed. It was unraveled. Look at that, Tony said, stepping back and wiping a hand over his face. It's not just kinetic force, Bruce. It's not just wind. It's millions of microscopic blades acting on a cellular level. It severed the nerve network before the pain receptors could even fire. It stripped the muscle from the bone like a wire cutter through wet clay. Bruce Banner sat on a stool in the corner, his shoulders hunched. He wasn't looking at the hologram. He was looking at his hands, rubbing his thumbs together in a nervous, rhythmic motion. It's efficient, Bruce said softly. It's cruel, Tony corrected, his voice rising. It's biological warfare disguised as a martial art. If that attack had hit the dam directly, I mean really hit it, it wouldn't have just cracked the concrete. It would have turned the molecular bonds of the cement into dust. We're talking about a weapon that unmakes matter. Tony spun around, his eyes wide and manic. This was the Tony Stark who had flown a nuke into a wormhole, the man who saw threats before they arrived. And it came out of a 17-year-old kid's hand, Bruce. No suit. No arc reactor. No incantation. Just, hum, and then a mountain is gone. He didn't mean to cause that much damage, Bruce said, though he sounded like he was trying to convince himself. He saved the village. He played Russian roulette with a fully loaded cannon and got lucky, Tony snapped. He walked over to Bruce. You've been quiet. You monitored him in the pod. What is the other guy saying? Bruce flinched. He took off his glasses and cleaned them, a stalling tactic he had perfected over the years. The Hulk. Bruce started, then stopped. He looked up, his eyes haunted. The Hulk is quiet. Tony frowned. Quiet? Usually, he's banging on the door wanting to smash something. Not this time, Bruce whispered. Since Naruto woke up, since we brought him on board, the Hulk has retreated. He's deep down. I've never felt him like this before. Is he dormant? No, Bruce shook his head. He's hiding. The silence in the lab was deafening. Hiding? Tony repeated, the word tasting like ash. The Hulk isn't afraid of anything. He tried to punch a lightning god. He tried to eat a Chitauri leviathan. He recognizes a predator, Tony, Bruce said, his voice trembling. That thing inside Naruto. Kurama. It's not just a power source. It's malice. It's thousands of years of condensed hatred. The Hulk is pure rage, but rage is hot. This is cold. And the Hulk knows that if he comes out, he might not be the strongest one in the room. Tony looked back at the hologram of the cellular destruction. If the Hulk is scared, Tony said grimly, then we are woefully underprepared. The World Security Council, Secure Channel. Nick Fury stood in the center of a darkened room, surrounded by 4 towering holographic screens. The faces of the World Security Council members were obscured by shadow and digital distortion, but their displeasure was crystal clear. The Orava incident is a public relations nightmare, Director, Councilwoman Hawley said, her voice sharp. The European Union is demanding answers. They want to know why an Avengers operation resulted in a seismic event that registered in 3 countries. The operation was a success, Fury said, his hands clasped behind his back. Hydra's weapon was neutralized. The dam held. Civilian casualties were 0. 0 physical casualties, Councilman Singh retorted. But the psychological impact is catastrophic. We have reports of mass hysteria in Slovakia. The footage of the blue sun eating the mountain is playing on every news network from Beijing to Boston. The world knows we have a new weapon, Fury. And they are terrified of it. He is not a weapon, Fury said, keeping his voice even. He is an asset. A refugee. He is a threat. Gideon Malik's voice boomed. We have reviewed the files you provided, Director. The boy claims to house a demon. A literal demon. And you have him sleeping in a penthouse in Manhattan? He is under constant surveillance, Fury argued. Stark has designed containment protocols. Captain Rogers is handling his integration. Captain Rogers is a sentimental relic, Malik scoffed. He sees a stray dog and wants to feed it. He doesn't see that the dog has rabies. What is your proposal? Fury asked, though he already knew the answer. Containment, Hawley said. Permanent containment. The raft is equipped for high-level threats. Transfer the boy to the raft. We can study him there. Safely. Away from population centers. If I try to put him in the raft, Fury said, stepping closer to the sensors, he will perceive it as an attack. And based on what we saw in Orava, if he fights back, the raft sinks. And everyone on it dies. Are you telling us you cannot control your own team? Singh asked. I am telling you that you do not poke a sleeping dragon just to see if its scales are hard, Fury snapped. Naruto Uzumaki is cooperating because he trusts us. He trusts Rogers. If we betray that trust, we create the very monster you're afraid of. You have 48 hours, Director, Malik said, his tone final. Bring the situation under control. Rehabilitate his image, or remove him from the board. If you do not, the council will intervene. And we will not be using stun batons. The holograms flickered and died, leaving Fury alone in the dark. He sighed, rubbing his single eye. I hate politics. Avengers Tower, the common room. The living area of the tower was designed for comfort. Massive leather couches, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, a wet bar that cost more than most people's houses. But right now, it felt like a waiting room for a funeral. Natasha Romanoff sat in an armchair, her legs curled under her, watching the news feed on a tablet. Clint Barton was cleaning his bow, the rhythmic snick-snick of a whetstone on metal the only sound in the room. Steve Rogers was standing by the window, staring out at the rain that had begun to fall over the city. Thor was eating a box of Pop-Tarts, but he did so without his usual gusto. It is turning, Natasha said quietly, breaking the silence. The narrative. It's shifting from mystery hero to the maelstrom. She flicked the image to the main TV screen. A pundit on a 24-hour news cycle was shouting. We are talking about accountability. The Avengers operate with no oversight, and now they recruit a child soldier who can alter geography? Who is this kid? Where did he come from? Why does S.H.I.E.L.D. refuse to release his identity? They have a point, Clint muttered, checking the tension on his bowstring. We don't know where he came from either. Not really. He came from war, Thor rumbled. I have spoken with him. His eyes carry the weight of 1,000 battles. He is a warrior born. He's a hazard, Thor, Tony announced as he walked into the room, Bruce trailing behind him like a nervous shadow. Tony threw a Stark pad onto the coffee table. Take a look. That's the energy yield of his raisin shuriken. If he had miscalculated by 2 degrees, the vibration would have shattered the dam's foundation. We'd be fishing bodies out of the Danube right now. Steve turned from the window. But he didn't miscalculate. He got lucky. Tony shouted. Steve, stop thinking with your shield for a second and think with your head. We are housing a biological WMD. He has no paper trail, no history, and a voice in his head that tells him to kill things. He held back, Steve insisted, walking toward Tony. I was there. I saw his face. He was terrified of hurting people. He aimed for the drones, and blew up a mountain. He saved the town. He terrified them. Tony pointed a finger at the window. Look down there, Cap. There are people picketing the lobby. They aren't asking for autographs. They're holding signs that say Ben the Beast, Zemo, Strucker, whoever is left of HYDRA. They don't even have to fight us anymore. They just have to wait for Naruto to sneeze and wipe out a city block, and the UN shuts us down. So what are you saying, Tony? Natasha asked, her voice cool. We lock him up? I'm saying we need safeguards, Tony said. Better ones. I'm designing a collar. Nanotech. It monitors his chakra network. If he exceeds a certain output without authorization, it shuts down his nervous system. Painless. Instant. A shock collar, Steve said, his voice dropping to a dangerous low. You want to put a shock collar on a human being. He's a Jinchuriki, Bruce spoke up, his voice barely a whisper. Everyone turned to look at him. Thor said it means power of human sacrifice. He was designed to be a container. Maybe he's used to it. That doesn't make it right, Steve snapped. We aren't jailers, Bruce. We aren't Hydra. We are protectors. Tony argued. And right now, protecting the world means protecting it from him. He is a child. Thor bellowed, slamming his fist onto the counter. The marble cracked. A child who has been thrust into a strange land. He seeks aid, and you offer him chains. Is this the honor of Midgard? Honor doesn't stop shockwaves. Point break, Tony shot back. Stop. Natasha's voice cut through the shouting match. She stood up. Where is he? She asked. The room went silent. They looked around. He was in his room, Steve said, a knot forming in his stomach. I'm tracking his heat signature, Jarvis interrupted. Mr. Uzumaki is on the roof. Sector 7. The helipad. Steve grabbed his jacket. I'm going to talk to him. Steve, Tony warned. Don't promise him things we can't deliver. Steve stopped at the door. He looked back at his team, his fractured, frightened team. I'm going to treat him like a person, Steve said. Something you all seem to have forgotten how to do. He walked out. The roof, Avengers Tower. The rain in New York was cold. It wasn't like the rain in the Land of Rain, which felt like weeping, or the rain in Konoha, which felt like cleansing. This rain felt like industrial runoff. It tasted of metal and exhaust. Naruto sat on the edge of the landing platform, his legs dangling over the precipice. 700 feet below, the city was a grid of yellow taxi lights and red taillights. He was soaked to the bone. His blonde hair was plastered to his forehead. He wore the gray shield-issued hoodie, the hood pulled up, but it offered little protection against the wind. It's loud, Naruto thought. It's never quiet here. The city screams, Kurama agreed. The fox was curled tight in the seal, his presence a low hum of warmth in Naruto's gut. Millions of people. All rushing. All afraid. They're afraid of me, Naruto corrected. He looked at his hands. He flexed his fingers. He could still feel the vibration of the wind style. The power was so accessible here, so desperate to be used, but the control was slippery. The lack of natural energy made his chakra volatile. We should leave, Kurama suggested. We can go to the wild places. There are mountains here. Forests. We can hide. And live like an animal? Naruto asked bitterly. I spent my whole life trying to stop being the outcast. If I run now, I'm just proving them right. If you stay, they will cage you, Kurama warned. I smell the intent on the Iron Man. He reeks of fear. And fearful men build cages. Mind if I join you? Naruto didn't flinch. He had sensed Steve coming since he stepped out of the elevator. The super soldier's life force was distinct, bright, steady, unwavering. Like a rock in a river. It's wet, Naruto said, not looking back. I'm from Brooklyn, Steve said, walking over and sitting down next to him on the wet concrete. I'm used to the rain. They sat in silence for a long moment. The wind whipped around the tower, whistling through the architectural spires. I heard them, Naruto said quietly. Steve sighed. Super hearing? Kurama senses negative emotions, Naruto explained. And Tony, he's loud. Even when he's not talking. Tony is. Tony, Steve said, searching for the words. He sees the worst-case scenario so he can prevent it. He doesn't hate you, Naruto. He's scared of me. Steve didn't deny it. Yes. He is. Naruto chuckled, a dry, humorless sound. It's funny. Different universe, different people, same look in their eyes. Naruto pulled his knees up to his chest. When I was a kid, before I knew what I was, I didn't understand why the parents pulled their kids away when I walked by. I didn't understand why the shopkeepers threw masks at me, why the teachers ignored me. He looked at Steve, his blue eyes glassy with unshed tears. There was a swing set by the academy. I used to sit there for hours, just watching the other families. Watching the dads pick up their sons. Watching the moms pack lunches. I was invisible. Until I messed up. Then, suddenly, everyone saw me. And they looked at me like I was a disease. Steve listened, his heart aching. He knew isolation. He knew what it was like to be the little guy, invisible to the world. But he had never been hated. Not like this. Then I found out, Naruto continued. I had a monster in my belly. The nine-tailed fox. It destroyed my village. It killed my parents. And they sealed it inside me. To protect the village, Steve murmured. Yeah. But the village didn't see a protector. They saw the fox. Naruto gestured to the city below. Just like them. They don't see Naruto Uzumaki. They see the maelstrom. They see the thing that eats mountains. You proved them wrong before, Steve said. In your world. You became their hero, right? It took years, Naruto said. It took a war. It took me almost dying a dozen times. I had to scream until my throat bled just to get them to acknowledge I existed. He looked down. I don't know if I have the energy to do it all over again, Steve. I'm tired. The admission hung in the air, heavy and fragile. Steve Rogers looked at the boy. Because that's what he was, a boy with the weight of two worlds on his shoulders. And he made a decision. You know, Steve began, 70 years ago, I was a science experiment. Naruto looked at him, surprised. I was small. Sick. Asthma, scoliosis, heart arrhythmia. The army didn't want me. The world didn't want me. But a doctor saw something in me. He gave me a serum. He put me in a pod and pumped me full of Vita-Rays. Steve smiled wryly. When I came out, I was this. A weapon. The US government didn't send me to fight. They put me in tights and made me sell war bonds. I was a mascot. A freak. They called me Captain America, but I was just a lab rat in a costume. Steve turned his body to face Naruto. Then, my best friend got captured. Bucky. He was behind enemy lines. The colonel told me it was a suicide mission. He told me to stay in my cage. What did you do? Naruto asked. I broke out, Steve said. I went to get him. Because I realized that it didn't matter what the world thought I was. It didn't matter if I was a lab rat, or a soldier, or a hero. What mattered was that I had the power to help, and if I didn't use it, that was on me. Steve put a hand on Naruto's shoulder. The grip was firm, grounding. People are going to fear you, Naruto. That's a fact. You're powerful, and power is scary. Tony is going to try to put you in a box. The council is going to try to send you away. The news is going to call you a monster. Steve looked him dead in the eye. But I don't care about them. I care about what you do. When that dam was breaking, you didn't run. You didn't hide. You acted. You tried to save people who hated you. That's not what a monster does. Naruto's lip trembled. That's what a hero does. Naruto wiped his eyes with his sleeve, sniffing loudly. I'm not crying, damn it. It's the rain. I know, Steve smiled. It's a very emotional rain. Steve stood up and offered a hand. Come inside, Naruto. You'll catch a cold. And if you get sick, Bruce will try to give you chicken soup, and trust me, you don't want to eat anything Bruce cooks. It tastes like gamma radiation. Naruto looked at the hand. It was scarred, calloused, and large. He reached out and took it. Steve pulled him up effortlessly. Steve, yeah? I'm not signing any papers. And I'm not wearing a shock collar. I know, Steve said, his face hardening. And as long as I'm standing, nobody is going to make you. The shadows, outside the tower, across the street, in a parked sedan with tinted windows, a man lowered a pair of long-range listening binoculars. Helmut Zemo wrote in a small leather notebook. Target is emotionally compromised. Isolation is ineffective due to the interference of Captain Rogers. Zemo tapped the pen against his lip. He looked up at the tower, glowing against the night sky. If isolation fails, we must escalate. We must force the beast to bite the hand that feeds it. He picked up a phone and dialed a number. Is the device ready? Zemo asked in Sokovian. Yes, Baron. The sonic frequency modulator is tuned to the biological readings we stole from the dam's site. Good, Zemo said. The Stark Relief Gala is in 2 days. The Avengers will be parading their new pet in front of the cameras to prove he is safe. Zemo smiled in the dark. Let us show the world exactly how unsafe he is. Avengers Tower, the lab, late night. Tony was still awake. The coffee pot was empty. He was staring at the nanotech collar design on his screen. It was sleek, unobtrusive. A failsafe. It's for his own good, Tony told himself. It's for the world's good. Sir, Jarvis interrupted. Captain Rogers has returned from the roof. He is escorting Mr. Uzumaki to the kitchen. Is he stable? Tony asked. Pulse rate is normalizing. Endorphin levels suggest an improvement in mood, Tony sighed, rubbing his temples. He reached out to the hologram. His finger hovered over the initiate fabrication button. He thought about the wormhole. He thought about the aliens. He thought about the vision Wanda Maximoff had shown him, the Avengers dead, the world burning, because he hadn't done enough. I can't take the risk, Tony whispered. He pressed the button. Fabricate the device, Jarvis. But keep it off the main logs. I don't want Steve seeing this until it's necessary. As you wish, sir. The machines in the corner whirred to life, beginning to weave vibranium threads into a leash for a fox. Upstairs, Naruto sat at the kitchen counter, eating a grilled cheese sandwich made by Captain America. For the first time all day, the hum of the city didn't feel quite so loud. But deep in his gut, Kurama was pacing. The metal man is plotting, Kurama warned. Do not let your guard down, Naruto. I know, Naruto thought, taking a bite of the sandwich. But for now, this is okay. Outside, the storm raged on.